세상 가장 쉬운 응원. 같이 가요. 작은 가게로. 부산 방송광고 발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Busan, our lovely city, is this city of oceans and films and filmmakers. As the 29th Busan International Film Festival, it officially kicked off as of yesterday. So as BIFF is on the precipice of its third decade, the film industry is facing never-before-seen challenges. This is a time for celebrations of movies, of films, but it's also a great opportunity for the industry to come together and seek solutions to challenges. Busan, as the city of cinema, is greatly invested in the film industry, and hopefully we'll be able to grow together with the blossoming new media industry. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, October 3rd on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. How are you doing? I hope you're all doing well. Yes, it is that day, that holiday that many of you may have been looking forward to. We had one on Tuesday, and many of you probably have the day off again today as well. So welcome to our program. So Busan is at the center of attention as the 10-day Busan International Film Festival, BIFF, kicked off yesterday. So the opening ceremony, it did happen last night and, hosted by actors Park Bo-young and An Jae-hong. And there was the opening film Uprising, the Korean title Jeonnan. So this film, produced by Park Chan-wook and distributed by Netflix, which, by the way, we all know Netflix. Has really become a giant force, not just for streaming, but in the film industry in the last few years. OTT, or streaming platforms, and generative AI have fast risen as new challenges for the film industry. But at this point, it's kind of there's this feeling. There's no point in fighting the OTT industry. Rather, it's kind of, at this point, we have to embrace this industry. That seems to be the direction BIFF is taking this year. And if you listened in on our special interview yesterday, we had our programmer on, Ms. Park, Karen Park. She made it very clear that that is the stance that BIFF is taking. And they made it clear with this opening film choice. At the same time, BIFF's Asia Contents and Film Market is holding an AI conference discussing business strategies and the future of the contents market. Another discussion forum will take place later today for the film industry to overcome the current crisis, including issues with fairness and funding within the industry. So once again, this is a time for celebration, but maybe also a time to prove why theaters and cinema, they call it the silver screen, right? Why they are still relevant. Well, let's get to our text topic. In order to celebrate properly BIFF, we're going to talk about movies. What are some movies you have seen on repeat over and over again, multiple times? What is one movie that you want to recommend to the other Wavers? That's what we're talking about. N차 관람. 나 이 영화는 20번, 10번을 봐도 또 보고 또 봐도 It seems new. 또 보고 싶어요. 여러분은 여러 번 본 영화는 그리고 웨이버들에게 이 영화는 꼭 보라고 추천해 주고 싶은 영화는. What is it? Well, you can send in your responses to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to that platform, YouTube, type in BEFM or 부산 영어 방송. Subscribe, Log in and you can chat away with our waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 101. We're also available. You can chat with me personally on our Kakao Talk channel as well. You can send in your messages. You can send in your actually photos that way as well. Same thing. Search for BEFM or Busan 영어 방송. The various ways you can tune into us: 90.5 or 103.3 FM on the radio dial. Like I said, on our YouTube channel, you can check us out in real time, like we're streaming right now. Even on today, on a day like this, public holiday. Or you can check us out later on at your leisure. We're also available on the Patbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together, we have Chris coming in for Beyond the Headlines. We have Han with City Insights. For our special interview, we're going to break things down for you, the latest on what's going on in the Middle East. There's so many moving parts. Israel, Hezbollah. And, this all began with Israel and Gaza, and then now Israel with Iran. It is very convoluted. It can be a bit confusing, and that's why we're going to break it down for you with the latest news with our expert in hour number 2. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06, and these are today's headlines. Prosecution to not press charges against First Lady. The prosecution concluded that the gifts were only to secure a meeting with the First Lady or maintain relations with her, and that no favors were given in return. Yoon holds first phone talks with new Japanese Prime Minister. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Japan's new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba held their first phone conversation yesterday to discuss new Prime Minister, their relationship, their bilateral ties, and cooperations on countering threats posed by North Korea. Government to dispatch emergency airlift for citizens amid Middle East crisis. President Yoon yesterday ordered an immediate dispatch of military transport aircraft to bring South Koreans home from regions affected by the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Religious leaders Chung Myung-suk's sentence reduced to 17 years. Daejeon High Court yesterday reduced the prison sentence for Chung Myung-suk, the leader of a controversial religious organization, to 17 years in his sexual offense case. Israel and Hezbollah clash on the ground, 8 Israeli soldiers dead. The Israeli military and Hezbollah have been clashing in ground fighting inside southern Lebanon, with the Israeli side reporting 8 of his soldiers dead. And these are today's headlines. Let's say hi to Haley. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, before we get into our updates, we're talking about movies.
We are.
Yes.
Ooh. So I watch musicals. A lot of musical films multiple times. I've seen Les Miserables in theater, the Anne Hathaway, that version, in theaters 5 times.
5 times.
This was also when movies were $8. So yeah, I only paid $40 in total. And I think I had coupons and whatnot. And then on repeat, because I am of the DVD generation.
Oh, yes.
And I did start with VHSs. But it's Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
The classic Gone with the Wind, the Vivian Lee and Clark Gable. I've seen that multiple times. I think just for the mostly for the fashion.
Sure.
Junior high Haley was drooling over Scarlett
the corsets.
Well, the Scarlett O'Hara dresses, the curtain dresses with the drapes. Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, we are in the age of Marvel, or are we even at this point? And Joker's out and these huge franchises. But I don't know. I think people should watch classics. Yeah. The boring black and white movies and the boring, but they're so
not
good.
boring.
They're not boring, and they are the foundation
And
upon
the dialogue.
which they were built.
So good, right?
Yeah, so good.
All right, we're going to jump into our first update. So it seems that, we have avoided being in the typhoon Krathon or Kraton's direct path, but it is still typhoon season. So what's being done about kind of the weak foundation that may be causing the sinkholes?
Right. I mean, it is still fairly windy this morning and rain is forecast. So Busan City is coming up with additional measures to prevent sinkholes, especially around that very concerning Hasang to Hadan subway construction site, which has been ongoing for about a decade. So first, if there is any heavy rain from typhoons, the city will preemptively block traffic to this particular 800-meter portion of Saebyongro, which is right next to and around the Hakjang Industrial Complex. That's where that huge sinkhole opened up recently.
Right.
And that's right under Dongsa Overpass. And then at the same time, the city will set up barriers so cars will only travel over the reinforced steel plates on the ground as opposed to the actual asphalt. Because these areas, they do have additional steel structures underground to hold them up.
Right.
And then also for more fundamental measures, Busan City will run a full survey over the underground structures in the construction site and make sure that there's no loose soil under the ground. The city has also directed the Transportation Corporation and the contractor for the construction site to be on the lookout, and this is just good to know for all of us, for what's called this boiling phenomenon. So this is where you might see kind of a bubble-like formation forming on the ground. And that's kind of a telltale sign of weak ground foundation because it shows that the groundwater level, the 지하수 level, is different. So there's no water literally holding up the ground. It has been drained under. So if you do see a weird bubbling over effect on the ground, definitely do alert the authorities.
Okay, but hopefully it doesn't have to come to that.
Absolutely. We will never have to know, but at least you know.
Of course. All right, next up, Busan's crops suffered from flood damage last month, of course, across the country as well. And local farmers are saying that the local governments are partially to blame for their lack of preventive measures.
Right. So, of course, there isn't anything we can do to prevent natural disasters from happening, but we can definitely minimize the damages, and things are supposed to be in place.
Yes.
But according to Gangseogu district, some 1,700 hectare of land suffered from flood damage, and that was from that torrential rain on September 20th and the 21st. And Gangseok saw over 400 millimeters of rain just in the span of 2 days. And the damage was apparently particularly bad for the tomato fields, the tomato greenhouses, with some 200 farms reporting damages. So the farmers, though, say that the irrigation and the drainage system did not work as they were supposed to.
I see.
So what's supposed to happen is when there's heavy rain, the rainwater is supposed to kind of go down the gutters, the drain pipes to the Pyeonggang stream, all the way to the Doksan floodgates, and the floodgates are supposed to open, but the water didn't drain properly. Instead, it kind of traveled up, flooding the greenhouses.
So what was supposed to happen, though?
Right. So in between, these steps, when there is a preliminary weather report of heavy rain, the district office turns on the Doksan drain pump, and that lowers the water levels on the stream. So it allows for more room to be there for water to dump in there.
Okay.
They did this, but not enough. So apparently the district office had anticipated about 120 millimeters of rain. So they lowered the water levels by about 70 centimeters. But the rain that did come down, 400 millimeters. So about more than triple the anticipated amount.
Sure.
Also, at the same time, there's a nearby construction site that's commissioned by the Korea Water Authority. They reportedly blocked the flow of water because there's a temporary bridge that's built over the stream to allow for large trucks to easily go to have access to the construction site.
Yes.
But when heavy rain comes down, they're supposed to remove that bridge. That didn't happen. So that kind of worked as an obstruction. So Gangseok District's council member Park Sang-jun said that the damages show how how lax or unprepared the district's responses may have been and called for better preventive measures. By the way, farmers are reporting tens of millions won in damage, and they're saying that they may not be able to sell their tomato crop this winter.
And that's unfortunate for all of us, our
Right,
consumers as well.
absolutely.
All right, let's move on. With the weather definitely getting colder, Busan City is rolling out its COVID vaccination scheme.
Right, so flu season, cold season, and now COVID season is once again upon us.
Yes.
And Busan City is offering free COVID vaccines for high-risk groups. So don't be confused because until now, pretty much COVID vaccines were free for everyone, but now they're free only for high-risk groups. So we're talking about seniors who are 65 or older, people who are older than 6 months with compromised immune systems, or people working or living in infection-prone facilities.
Okay.
So the vaccines will target the JN.1 strain manufactured by Pfizer, Moderna, and or Novavax. And you can get the COVID and the flu vaccines on the same day. And you can visit the website ncv.kdca.go.kr or just look up corona vaccine on any of the portal sites, or just call any of the doctors' offices or hospitals near you to see which ones are offering the vaccines.
All right. Thanks for the heads up on that one. And now we're going to take a look at some events in store for the rest of this week.
Right. So it is a fun season to be active. So we have the Busan People's Sports Festival taking place this Saturday and Sunday at the Gangsa Gymnasium. So it is an annual event that celebrates Busan Citizens Day, and it seeks to kind of spread this culture of athleticism and encourage people to be active.
Sure.
So the opening ceremony is on Saturday, the day after. I keep thinking today's Friday. It is not. It is not. Calm yourself, Haley. Saturday, the day after tomorrow.
Yes.
At 5 p.m. with Mayor Park Hyung-jun in attendance, and demonstrations. These are going to be exciting from the Kosin University Taekwondo team, dance sports competitors, and Lotte Giants cheerleaders giving a performance. Also, the opening performance will have a musical aspect with singers Yujina, Bang Mi-kyung, Jo Hwang-jo, and Lee Chan-won. And the actual competitions are on Sunday across Busan with various club sports teams competing on district and county levels.
Yes.
And people, if you are looking to just have fun, there will be pokeball, but with your foot. So like kind of a kickball / pokeball, like a giant billiards game.
That sounds like fun.
I know, a giant Jenga too.
Oh my gosh.
And VR sports.
Oh, Jenga. That sounds like so much fun.
Right?
Giant.
Maybe they'll give you hard hats.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. All right. Well, we will call it a wrap on the updates, and we'll check in with you with the news. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
And now back to you, the waivers. We're talking about films and movies today because we're in celebration mode. Biff is here. The opening ceremony was yesterday. So what are some films, movies that you have seen so many times? Like you could probably recite some of the lines. What's that one movie you really want to recommend to other waivers? And here is your traffic and weather. It is now 7:17. Here's your traffic report. Guess what? The roads are clear, at least in the Busan area, because it is a holiday today. As for the weather, it's currently 18 degrees Celsius under cloudy skies. Rain is forecast with strong winds. It was quite windy already this morning. Daytime high, you can expect 22 degrees Celsius. Looking at the weather across the nation, you may see rain expected to stop by tonight, although Busan, Gyeongsang, and Gangwon may see rain well into tomorrow morning. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest. So we're going to dive into our first bit of news with Haley. Okay, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism released its midway report regarding the hiring of the national men's football team coach Hong Myung-bo. And, well, it doesn't really bode well for the Football Association.
It does not. So the sports ministry yesterday released their findings, at least the halfway findings from the KFA, the Korea Football Association audit. And the KFA, of course, has been accused of breaking multiple associations' rules and even privileged treatment in the process of hiring coach Hong Myung-bo and also his predecessor, Jurgen Klinsmann. The first problem with Hong is who nominated him. So the national team's strategy chair, Jung Hae-sung, who was in charge of finding a coach, he suddenly stepped down during this process. And in his place, the technical chair, Lee Im-seng, and he will be a name that comes up repeatedly, took over. And Lee is the one who officially nominated Hong. However, the audit found that Jung, when he stepped down, did not ask Lee to step in. So there are questions as to, well, was he in the right to make the nominations and take over in the first place?
Okay.
The ministry also ruled that the interview process was problematic because Lee, as he was supposed to, he did fly to different countries to meet with the foreign coaches who are candidates. But unlike these interviews, the interview with Hong did not have a pre-arranged questions sheet. They met one-on-one without any of the association's members present. Also, they met late at night near Hong Myung-bo's house, where Lee Im-seng waited for hours for him to come home.
Okay.
And the job was offered on the spot.
Like during the interview?
During the interview.
Right after?
Interview. Right. So that's, that would be interesting if you were even applying for just any old like office job, let alone a national football team's coach with a fairly high salary. And even after that, the confirmation process with the board was missing some steps. However, as to, well, then what happens to Hong Myung-bo, the ministry is not taking any action and simply said that it expects the Football Association to make its own decision. However, taking in account the perspective of public opinion, common sense, and fairness.
Yes. So, what has the KFA said about this report?
It refuted a lot of the accusations made in the report.
Okay.
So in a statement that they released after the sports ministry released their findings, the association said, number one, as to it breaking its own rules, basically the message is that there were no rules to break. That they don't have detailed clauses or detailed details in their own rule books about how coaching hirings are supposed to be made. So as to the ministry saying that there being violations, well, there weren't because there were none stipulated under their written laws, written rules.
Yes.
It also said that the fact that Lee Im-seng did wait 4 to 5 hours around Hong Myung-bo's home, they said if you look at that into perspective, just that level of effort, well, he did also travel overseas to meet with the other coaching candidates. So him waiting 4 or 5 hours around his home is similar in terms of the level of effort that it took. So it's not privileged treatment.
Okay.
But it did say it does agree with some of the problems that may have come up during the confirmation process with the board. So it'll make improvements on some of its shortcomings. So number one, this aspect with the culture ministry, the sports ministry, does not bode well. In the meantime, though, another interesting twist,
Yes.
FIFA, the global federation
Okay.
of the Football Federation, reportedly sent an official letter to the KFA mentioning the audit, but also calling for independence and autonomy for the KFA. Because FIFA just globally is very staunchly for independence of football federations. And it has actually canceled games, matches in different countries because they deem that the governments or other outside bodies were interfering with their respective football federations.
I see. So for now, though, that's like the midterm, the midway report on this for now. So let's move on, though. Let's talk about September's inflation numbers.
Right. So we have numbers from September for the Consumer Price Index. That increase fell to a 1% level. And we haven't
Yes.
seen that in 3.5 years. So according to Statistics Korea yesterday, it revealed that consumer price index rose by 1.6% in September compared to the same time last year.
Okay.
This is on the back of declining petroleum prices. It has been less painful at the gas pump, I have to say.
Yes.
It went down by 7.6% last month, and that had an impact of dragging down overall inflation by 0.32%, which is not insignificant. But then, of course, there are uncertainties even with oil because, of course, the conflict between Israel and Hamas that has spread to Lebanon, and that could lead to an uptick in oil prices anytime there's a conflict in the Middle East.
Sure.
At the same time, another another volatile aspect, fresh produce. We've, of course, seen an increase, especially in kimjang kimchi-related ingredients.
Sure.
Overall, 18% increase. But if we're just looking at Asian cabbage or Napa cabbage, 53% increases.
Yes.
Radishes, 41%.
We feel it.
I know. So both fresh produce and oil prices are volatile items, and they are heavily influenced by things like weather and geopolitical conflicts. But the economy ministry, though, it forecasts that without significant external shocks, inflation may be contained within a 2% range for the entire year.
Yes, yes. So then this leads to the question, will the Bank of Korea or BOK lower interest rates?
Right, and that's coming up in just about a week. And so far, all signs point to a yes. Because number one, the U.S. Federal Reserve did lower their interest rate by
Right.
0.5% last month.
Sure.
Inflation, as we saw yesterday, fairly at a stable point despite the uncertainties. As long as we don't see a huge spike in global oil prices, inflation should stay relatively still. And the BOK did say as much during their meeting yesterday. However, there's another issue of household debt in South Korea, which is still quite high, along with real estate prices, which they are always stubborn that they're not going down.
Yes.
So the concern is lowering borrowing rates. If it does become cheaper to borrow money, then will people kind of rush to the real estate market again? And will that lead to a spike in real estate prices and a spike in household loans? That's a concern that the BOK still has. By the way, the next rate setting meeting for the Bank of Korea is scheduled for October 11th, and that will be the final meeting for the year.
All right, so we'll see if that does happen, of course. Well, fall is here. We definitely feel it. It's windy, it's chillier. Love it. It's hiking season for a lot of people, but the park authorities have issued a warning for those going out into nature, right?
Right, and I'm just sitting at like an outdoor park or an outdoor cafe.
Yes.
Wasps. Not just
no.
bees, not just cute little honeybees.
What is that, 말벌?
말벌. 말벌, 땅벌 too, because they don't just live in trees, they live in the ground as well.
Yes.
So the park authorities under the Environment Ministry, they've urged caution against venomous creatures like wasps and poisonous snakes, because that's also a thing.
Oh.
So fall is the most active season for wasps and snakes. So wasps, 말벌, 땅벌, they live in a wide range of habitats, including trees, even buildings. They're very, very resilient, underground and in rock crevices. Venomous snakes, they also reproduce during the fall. They're actively out searching for food ahead of hibernating season. So don't get in their way is the point.
Yes.
When you go hiking, only go on designated trails. Don't sit on rocks or on the ground without looking very carefully first. And because, nature, the survival of the fittest, Darwinism, the snakes are great at camouflage.
Yes,
They're
they
so
are.
great at camouflage.
Yes.
So please, just don't sit. Just keep on hiking. Just don't take rest. No breaks. Just go. Also, wearing hats and bright colored clothing, they have been proven to help you not get stung.
Oh.
So once again, hats, bright clothing, do. As opposed to darker clothing, because just naturally wasps, their predators are bears, and bears do have dark colored fur.
That's true.
So they will attack, mistaking you potentially for a bear or any other wild creature. So, and badgers too. So if you do get stung or bitten, watch for allergic reactions like difficulty breathing, rashes, or shock, and immediately visit a hospital.
I was laughing because I was imagining if we're wearing like black or like dark brown, some dark color,
Yeah.
we might be mistaken for like a bear.
Now I know, because I do wear, I have a lot of black shirts. It's my
Sure.
exercise shirt. So I'm like, okay, maybe not do that. Yeah,
Neon.
right.
Okay, here
Got
we
it.
go.
Yeah, neon.
Lastly, the U.S. vice presidential debate was yesterday. So let's go through some of the main points.
Well, let's first listen to a highlight from the debate between Republican candidate J.D. Vance and Democratic candidate Tim Walz.
Have to stop the bleeding. We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies.
Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this. And he promised you, America, how easy it would be. I'll build you a big, beautiful wall, and Mexico will pay for it. Less than 2% of that wall got built, and Mexico didn't pay a dime.
Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important
we're
because
going to turn out of the
debate-
economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to
we're-
fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is
Has she tried to-
that is a damning non-answer.
Okay, despite the moment of interruption,
Yes.
it was the most civil debate I've seen since like the Obama-Romney, like a decade ago. Yeah, there's like one person who's been in, yeah, I know. Anyways, this was the first and the only VP debate, and likely the final debate we'll see this election season. So, they went head-to-head talking about their respective presidential and opponents, discussing global conflicts, domestic economy, immigration, and abortion. But for the most part, it was very much policy-based, civil, with moments of agreement. There was actually a very moving moment where they were talking about gun control, and Tim Walz's 16, 17-year-old son, he was at a school when there was an attacker, and J.D. Vance said he didn't know about it, and there was a moment of like sympathy and agreement between two fathers, which, you know,
Very
whatever.
short-lived, I'm sure.
Very short-lived, but at least there was one, and we
Yes.
haven't once again seen one in decades.
True.
But most heated issues, immigration, because immigration is kind of considered a weakness for Democrats or just whoever's
Right.
in the White House. And Vance definitely kept going into the issue. However, this is also a weird spot for Vance because he is one that initially brought up the very false claim of Haitian immigrants eating dogs in Springfield, Ohio. Vance is a senator from Ohio.
Right.
So that clip you heard of him interrupting the moderators was when they asked him to kind of fact check and clarify that issue.
Sure.
So they had to end up muting his microphone briefly.
And, this whole debate really taking place, the time of it, on the heels of Iran launching missile attacks over Israel. So the timing of it is
just
like, ooh.
hours after
Yes.
that launch came. And this was kind of a weakness for Walz because he did
Yes.
stumble during his initial response. He did repeat his presidential candidate Harris's promise of ironclad support for Israel.
Okay.
Vance also really doubling down on Trump's main talking points. They've been saying that there have been no new world conflicts that broke out while Trump was in office. I mean, there was a pandemic, but there weren't wars that freshly broke out.
Okay.
So neither, though, they said that they would approve of a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran. So they do support Israel, but not on aggressive fronts. Another main issue going back to domestic issues, abortion, because that is the field where two candidates differ vastly.
Yes.
Walz was definitely the winner, at least on this issue, because Democrats do have a clearer stance here. And he made it kind of personal, bringing in stories of two women who died because of the restrictive abortion laws in the state of Georgia.
Right.
Vance, though, he did switch his position, saying that he no longer supports a nationwide access on abortion.
Right.
And then finally, the issue of democracy at large, because here's the kind of the kryptonite for the Republican Party. No one in the Republican Party has openly criticized Trump on his possible insurrection of the riots in the U.S.
January
Capitol,
6th.
the January 6th riots, where he refused to accept the election outcome.
Yes.
Vance did defend Trump over that riot, and and that was the biggest threat to literal threat to democracy in the history of the United States. So him still doing that, it shows the power that Trump and the MAGA movement, they have over the Republican Party.
Yes. So we don't have the polling information yet because it's still fresh.
Fresh polls show, though, some outlets, they do say Vance was kind of the winner, but others say it was really neck and neck.
Right. So in terms of the effect on the voters, though, we'll see.
It is a vice presidential candidate after all. I mean, we do have more attention over the vice presidential candidate than ever, but we'll have to see.
November 6th coming up soon. All right, so we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, let's get to our first song. This is a song request from Choi Yun-jung Waver. This is 7 by Jungkook.
Shoulders, I guess you're wasting ease of mine. I must be favored to know, yeah. I take my hands and trace your lines. It's the way that we could ride. It's the way that we could ride. Think I'm meant to win another life, so break me up another time. You're up around me and you give me life, and that's why night after night I'll be loving you right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second. You know, night after night I'll be loving you by 7 days a week. You love when I jump right in. All of me, I'm a foreign. Show you what devotion is. Deeper than the ocean is. Wind it back, I'll take it slow. Leave you with that afterglow. Show you what devotion is. Deeper than the ocean is. It's the way that we could ride. It's the way that we could ride. Think I'm meant to win another life, so break me up another time. You're up around me and you give me life, and that's why night after night I'll be loving you right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second. You know, night after night I'll be loving you right 7 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second. You know, night after night I'll be loving you right 7 days a week.
Tight to take control, tight to take it soul. Take your phone and put it in the camera roll. Leave them clothes at the door. What you ain't for? Better come and hit your goal. He jumping in both feet. Going to the sun up, we ain't getting no sleep. 7 days a week, 7 different sheets, 7 different angles. I could be your fantasy. Open up, say come here, baby, let me swallow your pride. What you want, I can match your vibe. Hit me up and I'ma cha-cha slide. You make Mondays feel like weekends. I make him never think about cheating. Got you skipping work and meetings. Let's sleep in, yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second. You know, night after night I'll be loving you right 7 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second. You know, night after night I'll be loving you right 7 days a week.
Welcome back. We're going to our top story today. We're talking about BIFF, Busan International Film Festival. So we're talking about the challenges that this festival has to overcome in the age of streaming and generative AI, not IA, AI. But the festival has one aspect that platforms and technology cannot compete with: the human factor, of course. There is definitely something special about watching movies, kind of like in this large theater in person. You can't beat that, especially the Cinema Center outdoor theater with this beautiful fall weather. Maybe like not during typhoon season, but definitely during the fall weather. There's also Community BIFF, the audience participatory program. There's a bunch of them going on in Nampo. And these are not only films, of which there are plenty, but also many street performances, they have these talks with audiences and even some sing-along programs along with kid-friendly events. And we definitely have gotten used to the comfort of watching films from, our own homes, especially during the pandemic. But when you get out there, you get a whole new experience only available in movie theaters. And this season, I think Biff is really exciting because around this time, not only with all the screenings and all the talks that directors and producers and actors have, but especially around this area, we see these sightings. We do. You go to a restaurant and you see like crowds and like around the Dalmaji area in Haeundae, all the kind of the hot. Sometimes they're really small restaurants, but then you'll see kind of the van. You know what I'm talking about, the blacked out van. And oh, someone's here. So that's that season right now. Speaking of Biff, text topic. What are some movies that you have seen multiple times? What is that one movie that you want to recommend to other waivers? 자, N차 관람. 여러분이 여러 번 본 영화는 뭐예요? 너무 궁금합니다. 그리고 웨이브들에게 이 영화는 꼭 보라고 추천해주고 싶은 영화는 me. I'm gonna go first. I like this movie. It's not some fantastical, Academy Award-winning film. But it's a romantic film. And when I saw it, I rarely cry during films or movies. I teared at the end. I did. And some of you probably already saw it, but I'm going to recommend it anyway. The Notebook. To me, it's like one of the most romantic films. And I would recommend it to you. If you haven't seen it, The Notebook, that's one. And also, I know that this actor on his own, he's a no-no. But the film, The Usual Suspects, that's still one of my favorite films. I'm talking about the acting. Kaiser Soze. Oh, so good. So those are my two picks. Okay, I'm going to read your messages, but we got to get to Kat's pick for now. For today's Kat's pick, I wish I could give you a bright, happy story. It's not. It's grisly. Trigger warning. This is about murder. A killing anyway. A 13-year-old girl has been charged in connection with fatally stabbing her 7-year-old younger sister. So if your kids are there, turn the volume down, cover their ears. Here's a clip from Fox News.
A 13-year-old called the father first and then called 911.
Telling a dispatcher she had stabbed her 7-year-old sister. It happened Saturday afternoon at their home on Banner Street in Taylor when the 13-year-old was babysitting the younger girl.
We have over 10 stab wounds. So, ranging from the abdomen to the head, to the neck.
The 7-year-old was taken to an area hospital where she was pronounced deceased. Police say the older sister used 2 knives, a butcher knife and a hunting knife.
All I can say is it's shocking and it's very tragic.
The motive for the brutal attack?
It stemmed from a note that was placed in the bathroom, and then the note was about flushing the toilet, like a simple note about flushing the toilet.
That note was left by the 7-year-old girl Monday, a makeshift memorial in their front yard.
She would always want to be friends with everybody. She would ride her bike and keep to herself.
The 13-year-old is being tried as a juvenile. She is being charged with first-degree premeditated murder, felony murder, and child abuse in the first degree. Prior to this,
she was not a problem in the house to the parents, and as well as the mother said that no problems at school. She's never been in trouble at school either.
She's very quiet and all that. She's like one of the stranger ones, kind of. But I've never seen her like this. I never thought she would do anything like this. When my grandma told me, I was horrified because they were like they were best friends, even though they were sisters. They would always play together. They had My Little Pony toys, and they would play with each other.
So far, according to the police investigation, and you heard the police officer, there was apparently some sort of note that the 7-year-old had left near the toilet. We don't know what the note said. Probably like flushed the toilet or something about the toilet. And then, according to other clips that I did watch, the 13-year-old kind of waited around for her sister after they had already argued in their bathroom with 2 knives. And then that's what happened. I just can't believe it. And sorry to have to report on this story, but today's Cat's Pick for today, grisly but true. Sad story.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
All right, everybody, guess what? We have Beyond the Headlines, but ta-da! We have Chris in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. So just to let everybody know, Chris Boyd is going to be joining us every Thursday for Beyond the Headlines. Yay!
Thank you for having me.
I know you're excited inside.
I am. I'm actually. This is. You can actually see the smile on my face. I'm really excited this morning.
We want to see the excitement. We want to feel it, Chris. Come on.
It's a very good morning today. It was too. Yeah.
I promise you, he's excited. This is the excited Chris. So, real quick, I know we're gonna jump in, but real quick, we're talking about movies and Biff. Is there like one favorite movie or one movie that you have on repeat that you've seen over and over again? Because we need to break the ice. What do you recommend to our waivers?
I'm actually going to go the opposite. My favorite movie is actually a very, very sad movie that I've only seen once. And it was really
so sad. You
well done.
You don't want to see it again?
That I never want to see it again.
What is it?
It's called My Life Without Me.
My Life Without Me?
Yeah, and it's about a woman who gets diagnosed with terminal cancer. And she makes a list of things that she wants to do before she dies. And
it's that sad.
Most of them are sad.
But it was so sad you don't want to see it.
Yeah, it was really well done, really well written, really well acted, and it's one of those that is just, if you need a good cry, this is the movie. Yeah.
Now I want to check it out. My Life Without Me.
Yeah.
Recommended by Chris.
Recommended by me.
All right, let's jump into our segment. What do you have for us?
Yeah. Well, one of the things, it's October already.
Yes.
I can't believe it. It's we've already 3 months left of the year.
Right.
And one of the things that I always do around this time of year is start to focus on like what have I accomplished of my New Year's resolutions. Most people forget about them in February, but I try not to. But it's like we've got these 3 months, and one of my focuses this year has been wellness.
Yes.
And I know that you talked about this a couple weeks ago, where you've got September being Self-Care Awareness Month. And because of that, I was really able to focus on it. Now, in Busan, we have lots of wellness events, lots of things that really focus on your health. We had the World Wellness Weekend, the second to last weekend in September. And there's going to be a healing day, which is actually 5 healing days in Busan. That happens over the next 2 months. And it seems like really every weekend, every time I walk, there's somebody practicing wellness. If I go to the beach, there's somebody doing beach yoga or something like that.
Sure.
Do you do anything that you can consider wellness? Yeah.
Wellness, besides breathing, and I'm just kidding. I've been taking, I told the listeners, like, I have a goal, but I don't know if I want to share it because I'm scared. Because like I have a goal with my roommate. We decided like next year this time we want to participate in some sort of like, I don't know if it's like a 10K or I don't want to say marathon because that's just too long of a distance for us. But we're trying to work our way up to a long distance. We'll just say it that way because I don't want to like peg myself and say like a 10K or like a 20K, like a certain distance. We're working our way up. So we've started working on that.
Well, they've got lots
baby
of options
steps,
for that.
Yeah. So yes. Right. So that's what we've been doing, right? But it's not just looking after like our physical body, right?
Right. So wellness is not just the physical body. It's a bit more than that. It's also to really understand wellness. You really have to think about healthy habits that can be used to improve our mental and physical health.
Sure.
A friend of mine convinced me to try yoga, and once I was able to stop my joints from hurting from all of the.
How was that? Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible at first, and then once you get into it, I was able to focus on the meditative part.
Really?
And it really became both physically helpful and also mentally helpful.
Yes.
And it's a very popular industry, which generates $4.4 trillion annually.
How much?
I mean, it is something that helps people find balance in their life.
Sure.
And it's one of the fastest areas of wellness is wellness tourism.
Sure. So, traveling to relax and focus on wellness, it does seem like, they go hand in hand. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a very good idea that brings in $651 billion annually and is expected to grow by 16.6%. But according to the Global Wellness Institute, NGO aimed at promoting worldwide wellness, this year there have been 9 trends that have really driven wellness tourism, and I just wanted to mention a few of them today.
Sure, okay.
The first is taking a wellness holiday with the kids.
Are you sure? I'm kidding. Okay, yeah. With the kids.
With the kids.
Okay.
Because the focus is all about child enrichment. And you want them to grow and to be, decent human beings as they get to be
important.
adults. Families are increasingly valuing travel experiences that support their child's well-being via education, personal development, and worldview expansion. So imagine taking a trip to another part of the country or even to another country where you're expanding their horizons and their views on the world.
But, getting experiences, that actually I feel is much more important than something like a toy.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? That experience is much more valuable. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That experience will last longer. The second one is a recovery retreat, which helps people recover from physical and mental stress.
Oh, I like this.
And these ones use technology such as wearable devices to monitor stress levels or hyperbaric chambers and things like that.
High tech.
High tech. The third one is really trying to search for calm. And this encapsulates a range of experiences that are trying to promote emotional and psychological and spiritual well-being by finding calm locations and participating in calming activities.
Ooh.
The fourth one is the exploration of wellness for men. And while wellness travel has historically been more commonly associated with women, recent data and trends indicate that more men are recognizing the importance and investing in their holistic well-being. And this is especially true for millennials and the Gen Zers out there.
This is good. I like the fact that, men are doing this too, because I think generally speaking, I don't want to stereotype, but women are very in tune, or at least they think about it more so than men.
Yeah.
At least the men in my life.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that because almost all of the people, maybe for every 10 women, there's one man.
Exactly, right? So I don't think I'm stereotyping, right?
No, it's
generally speaking, women are more attuned to it, more comfortable talking about I want to do this. I want to try that. I need this.
Yeah, so a lot of men are focused on just their health.
Yes.
And we still have lots of steps to go towards mental health awareness.
Yes, I agree.
And the fifth trend I wanted to talk about of these 9 is art and wellness, where travelers immerse themselves into art to nourish both their body and soul. So
Ooh, I've never thought art and wellness together.
Yeah.
That's new.
And it could be either going and viewing art or going and creating art as part of the wellness routine.
Nice. Interesting.
There's the Trend 6, which is one that helps women who are experiencing menopause to find both physical support but also emotional support and different ways to help combat the brain fog, mood changes, fatigue, joint pain, and night sweats that are common symptoms of this experience.
This is also important because, some people don't feel comfortable talking about menopause, but why? Yeah. All our moms, grandmas, I will go through it. All women will eventually go through this. It's a part of life.
It is a natural part of aging.
It is. And, we shouldn't be ashamed or embarrassed to talk about these symptoms or remedies for such. So, I don't know. All these trends, thanks for going over them.
Have you thought about taking a wellness trip?
I have. My kids are a little older, so I would definitely want to go on the recovery retreat. That sounds really good. I'm very tempted by that. And also the art and wellness. That really like kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Like I haven't thought of putting those together. Like separately, yes. Like going
separately doing art things.
Doing the art thing.
Doing wellness things.
And doing the wellness thing, but not together. But I love that idea of putting that together. What about you?
Yeah, if I were to take one, I really have been focusing more on like the men's health aspect of it. And particularly like a lot of the men's health things are like really high impact stuff. And I am getting older and my joints are starting to ache. So doing that high impact stuff really is not quite
not for you, right?
Not for me.
Right.
But also like focusing on that mental health aspect.
That's important.
Is very important. In fact, I'd say that's probably the most important aspect for men in this society these days.
Yes. Well, for today though, we are going to call it a wrap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing this in and for all our waivers for our first inaugural segment with you for Beyond the Headlines, and we'll definitely check in with you next week. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, this was Chris, and we're going to check in with him next week. We're going to take you out with this song, though, Confess to You by Lim Kim, requested by Leslie Waver, and I'll be back at 8.
내 맘도 너에게 빠져들어가 별처럼 밝게 빛나는 어둠 밤 밝게 비추는 너의 모습이 눈부셔 따스한 봄처럼 웃는 늘 환하게 웃고 있는 널 맘에 가득 안고 싶어 Confess to you my lovely lover you are the one I've been dreaming of Confess to you my heart finds solace you are the one I've been dreaming of 한 걸음 조금씩 다가가 너에게 별처럼 밝게 빛나는 어둠 밤 밝게 비추는 너의 모습이 눈부셔 긴 어둠 속 밝게 비춘 포근한 달빛과 같은 널 맘에 가득 안고 싶어 Confess to you my lovely lover you are the one I've been dreaming of Confess to you my heart finds solace you are the one I've been dreaming of your love is a sweet dream your love is a sweet dream your smile brightens up my world this love is so true sent from above Confess to you my lovely lover
Your Bridge to the World.
어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
부산 글로벌 도시재단 대표이사 전용호입니다. 부산은 대한민국의 굳건한 성장 동력으로서 물류, 금융, 영상, 관광, 문화, 디지털, 첨단 산업의 중심지인 글로벌 허브 도시로 나아가고 있습니다. 이를 위해 부산 글로벌 도시재단은 부산을 대표하는 도시 외교의 플랫폼을 지향합니다. 세계 평화도시 부산의 브랜드를 강화하는 부산 UN-유크와 부산 글로벌 도시포럼, 유라시아 도시외교단, 개발협력 포럼, 그리고 세계 시민축제는 부산의 소프트파워의 상징으로 자리매김하고 있습니다. 부산 영어방송도 시민과 함께 영어하기 편한 도시, 세계와 경쟁하며 더불어 살아가는 부산을 만들어가겠습니다. 시민이 행복한 글로벌 허브 도시 부산, 부산 글로벌 도시재단이 함께합니다.
엄마, 나 용돈 좀 올려줘.
이거 친구가 준 거예요.
아이들의 일상을 관심 있게 들여다보면 도박으로 힘겨워하는 아이들의 구조 신호가 들립니다. 다양한 형태로 드러나는 청소년 도박. 그들의 구조 신호에 응답해주세요. 공익광고협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded.
What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan. I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. Prosecution to not press charges against First Lady. Prosecutors decided not to charge First Lady Kim Gun-hee for violation of the anti-graft law in connection to her acceptance of a luxury bag from a Korean-American pastor in 2022. The prosecution concluded that the gifts were only to secure a meeting with the First Lady or maintain relations with her, and that no favors were given in return. Additionally, the prosecution dropped graft charges against the pastor. The decision marks the conclusion of a highly contentious investigation that resulted in the first instance of a sitting president's wife being questioned in person. Yoon holds first phone talks with new Japanese Prime Minister. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Japan's new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba held their first phone conversation yesterday to discuss bilateral ties and cooperation on countering threats posed by North Korea. According to the presidential office, the two leaders agreed to work on enhancing both bilateral cooperation and trilateral collaboration involving the United States to address North Korean issues. Yoon said that the two countries are important neighbors and partners and expressed hopes for improving ties ahead of their 60th anniversary of normalizing diplomatic relations next year. Japanese outlets reported that the two leaders may meet in person next week in Laos. Government to dispatch emergency airlift for citizens amid Middle East crisis. President Yoon Suk-yeol yesterday ordered an immediate dispatch of military transport aircraft to bring South Koreans home from regions affected by the escalating conflict in the Middle East, said his office. Yoon held an emergency meeting with senior government officials to discuss measures for ensuring the safety of Korean nationals in the region and minimizing its impact on the economy and energy supplies following Iran's recent missile attacks on Israel. As of Wednesday, approximately 130 Korean nationals were in Lebanon, 110 in Iran, and 480 in Israel, according to the Foreign Ministry. Religious leader Chung Myung-seok's sentence reduced to 17 years. Daejeon High Court yesterday reduced the prison sentence for Chung Myung-seok, the leader of a controversial religious organization, to 17 years in his sexual offense case. Chung, the head of the group Jesus Morning Star, known as JMS, was initially sentenced to 23 years for sexual assault and molestation of 3 victims. His side had argued that the sentence was unfair due to errors of facts and erroneous application of the law. Chung, who refers to himself as the Messiah, or the second coming of Jesus, was released in 2018 after serving 10 years in prison for raping a number of female followers and embezzling funds from JMS. Israel and Hezbollah clash on the ground, 8 Israeli soldiers dead. The Israeli military and Hezbollah have been clashing in ground fighting inside southern Lebanon, with Israel reporting 8 of its soldiers dead. The fighting follows Iran launching airstrikes over Israel, to which Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed revenge. Tehran citizens are fearing retaliatory attacks from Israel. U.S. President Joe Biden, meanwhile, has advised Israel to take a proportional response, voicing opposition to a potential strike on Iran's nuclear sites. And this was News Highlights. It's that time. Wagga. Haley's in the studio.
Hello.
All right, so I wish we had some happy stories. Hour number 1, we had that terrible sibling stabbing story. And hour number 2, we're going to start with this grim story that we do have to address. It's another stabbing story, right?
It is a trigger alert for violence. I mean, I do apologize for... I really tried not to after, because we talk about what stories we're going to bring, and I was like, do I want to do a second stabbing story? But it is what happened. It is the state of the world, and we all do have to be aware. All right, so a man in his 20s, this happened in Korea. He was found guilty of attempted murder and sentenced to 7 years in prison for stabbing a cashier at a supermarket 27 times. So this is a bizarre incident as to what prompted this. Not that there's ever an excuse for violence, but as far as excuses go, this is a bad one. So back in May of this year, this was in Gangwon, Haengsong, Gangwon province, the 28-year-old man, he went to a supermarket, and that was in the morning. So he thought there was apparently an altercation. He thought the cashier had called him, quote unquote, crazy. But it wasn't like, you are crazy, but he thought she said in Korean, 미친, which could be something else. It could, yeah. But anyways, he got mad. He went home, kind of mulled over it, got even more upset. He grabbed a knife and went back to the supermarket in the afternoon to seemingly seek revenge. But here's the thing. The morning shift had ended. So that woman whom he had an issue with, she was not there. So he asked the afternoon cashier, a woman in her 50s, the victim, where is the other woman? So the victim said, apparently, she went to lunch. But he thought, she said, I don't know. So he thought he was being dismissed for the second time. Right. So this apparently triggered something, and he stabbed this woman 27 times. Once again, this will get graphic, in her face, head, and neck. Thankfully, the injuries were not critical. She is physically okay, but the victim is suffering from severe case of post-traumatic stress disorder. And at least according to the reports, they say that it's hard to say if she will ever recover.
I mean, how can you not? 27 times.
Oh, my goodness. So the defendant is apparently suffering from some kind of a mental disorder, undisclosed, which the court deemed at least partially affected his behavior. However, considering the gravity of the crime, the damages inflicted upon the victim, the court sentenced him to 7 years in prison with a 5-year monitoring period, which unfortunately is kind of the maximum you do tend to get in Korea for attempted murder. Which is it prompts then a whole different discussion on, well, are these sentences too lax? But
the thing is, like, the court can hand down sentencing according to what the law is.
What the law says. So, of course, that's for the parliament. And there are also sentencing guidelines, which is also set by the Supreme Court's sentencing guideline committee. So we do, whenever we see these cases, any of these cases, whether it be sexual assault, attempted murder, we do talk about that with like coworkers and friends, and they will be quick to blame the judge. It's easy to, and sometimes they are to blame.
Yes, sometimes.
But there are also a whole host of issues which, we could, as citizens, address via voting or calling our representatives, petitions, and whatnot. So
We
that's
have to check
why
the system.
I bring up these issues, because it's much more than just this one incident.
Tragic.
I mean, our heart goes out to the victims. We hope she does recover however she can.
Of course.
Right?
Yes. All right, next. 3 people have been indicted for lending money with classified military information as collateral. So
collateral is 담보. We're talking about loan sharks. This isn't banks just taking, passwords as collateral.
Okay.
But when we think 담보,
yes,
we think watches, cars, monetary,
or even
physical,
when you get a mortgage loan, the house,
the papers,
is
right? Something physical,
collateral,
not collateral, but not military information, but.
Right.
It happened. So Jeonju Regional Court found 3 individuals. They're all what we colloquially call loan sharks, 3 creditors in an illegal money laundering organization.
Sure.
Guilty of breaking the Act on Classified Military Information and Loan Company Act. So the 3, that includes the head of an unregistered money lending company and 2 of his employees. They lent hundreds of thousands of millions of won to 3 military officers and multiple military officers working for a base in Chungcheong.
Okay.
So they apparently accepted military information. So these are verbal passwords that distinguish soldiers friendly to enemy as collateral for lending the money. So this is, by the way, when you're standing a guard post, or when one does stand guard post and somebody approaches, the guard says one word and the other person has to respond back. So if I, for example, say morning, you have to say wave. And I know you're not the enemy.
Yes.
Hopefully something more secure than that, but apparently not here. So this is considered level 3 classified information. It's changed every day.
Sure.
And you're not even supposed to say this over the phone. So it is that classified.
Okay.
So at first, though, with the money lending thing, it was kind of a win-win for the officers, because they could just, it didn't cost them anything. They didn't have to give up their, mortgage papers, home, car, whatever.
How do they check, though?
But we'll get to that though. But when the deadline came close, the loan sharks threatened the officers, saying, "Well, you gave us classified information, so we can just call the defense ministry or your boss, and you'll be in a load of trouble. So pay up." They collectively lent 185 million won to 41 people and applied, get this, 30,000% interest. 3,000%. Which, by the way, legal limit being 20%, that's 1,500 times higher.
That was a typo. I was like,
no.
30,000%?
30,000%. And that's how loan sharks
operate. That's called predatory lending.
Yes. Yes, that's called illegal. So, you might be wondering, all right, fine. The people who lent the money at 30,000% interest, they're definitely breaking something. Right. But what about the people who willy-nilly gave classified?
So what happened to these are officers.
These are,
in the military.
They swore something to be there. Well, the army captain was found guilty already in military court. 2.5 years in prison with a 4-year probation. So what happened is that he and the others were going through tough financial times, but the reason, internet gambling. And,
that's of your own doing. I'm sorry.
And failed crypto investments. So the particular captain borrowed just 1 million won. 100만 won. And he took a photo of, there's a board where they write down the information, the passwords, and sent it. I mean, and I know
That's
like
how it
people have different
goes.
financial situations, but trading state secrets for 100 million won.
I
seems-
mean, that's
excuse me, not 100, just 1
1
million
million
won.
won.
100만 원 is that's
yeah.
something.
That's
So, anyways, he was found guilty. They were all found guilty.
All right. Next story. No one likes neighbors who smoke indoors. I'm sorry if you're a smoker. We don't like it if you're our neighbor and you're
Right.
smoking indoors because the smoke
It travels.
I'm just saying.
Gases travel.
You know, that's your own right to do if you want to smoke. But this person is insisting that the neighbor's excuse for his father smoking inside, it's just, let's hear it.
Right.
What is it
so,
about?
I don't know. Let me know, waivers, if you would give an excuse if this is so indoor smoking in apartments, always a contentious topic.
Yes.
As a staircase walker, sometimes I see ashtrays. Like I
Oh, that
legit
is
see
so-
ashtrays in like these stairwells. I'm like, I'm glad you're not littering, but that's the only thing I'm glad about.
Yes.
Anyways, but this one resident of an apartment openly asked his or her neighbors to let their father smoke in his home.
Oh, like literally?
Literally, like, please
Like-
excuse my father. He's gonna he's gonna smoke in his home. You're gonna have to
Okay,
let
okay.
him go off. Well, why? So this letter was posted in the apartment common area because the father is 97 years old and can't move.
Oh, he has mobility issues?
But then should he be smoking? I mean,
oh, but I don't want to judge. I don't know. Oh, there's a note.
there's a note. I mean, it's a polite note. The adult child lives with his 97-year-old
say?
father.
Oh.
His father has mobility problems. He cannot go outside. So, unavoidably, 부득이하게, inadvertently, he has to. There's no choice but for him to smoke inside. Is the wording. That's very interesting. He does apologize profusely. So yeah, the writer understands that this is inconvenient for the other residents, but he says in the later, can you like flip the situation, put yourself in my shoes, our shoes, and please understand.
So waivers, if this was your situation, if you had a parent or parents who are smokers, who are very old, elderly, and had mobility issues and are, I'm sorry to say, addicted to smoking. It's an addictive
It's an
substance.
addiction.
How would you approach this? Would you write something like this, or how would you feel in that situation?
I mean,
That's a tough one.
Right, but like I know people are set in their ways, but also if your parent is 97 and they're ill enough to not be able to move, wouldn't quitting smoking be, I'm just saying, like as a non-smoker, I don't know. As a non-smoker, wouldn't quitting smoking be the first step? Which is what a lot of netizens said.
But I'm thinking on the flip side, I'm just saying,
Right.
devil's advocate. That means I'm just going to be arguing the other side just for the sake of arguing. Like if I had a parent or grandparent who's 97 and I'm thinking, you know, he
want them to
probably
be
doesn't have many
happy.
years
Right,
left.
right,
like,
right.
let him. Like I would, and
Yeah.
plus, like if he's not doing it in the hallway, if he's not doing it in the stairwell, and if he's just smoking in his own home.
Well, here's the thing then.
Okay.
Let's not turn on the vents and let's close the windows.
Yes.
Because air travels.
Yes, if you're
Yes.
going to do so, I would tell my elderly father or grandpa, don't open the windows. then.
Right. Fine.
You got to
turn
do
your
it
home into a smokehouse, but
just in that room,
Yes.
in your own room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Interesting,
Yeah.
but tough.
I know there are two sides to everything.
Yes.
These are definitely polarizing sides.
Oh, we have some messages.
Ooh.
Oh.
Can we read them on air?
Waiver. At least do the decent thing, vape.
Oh, by the way, we're not encouraging
No.
any smoking.
And these are messages
Yes,
from private
yes.
citizens. Or go, odorless.
Oh my goodness.
And then other ones, I can't read. So
Yeah,
we'll just leave it at
nope,
that.
nope.
Yes. All right, for our final story, another contentious issue that some people may find to be a nuisance. Why? I'm kind of leading up to this, like I was saying earlier, my roommate and I were working up to long distance. We're at walking quickly at this point.
You're power walkers.
Yes, we're not running yet. We're not jogging yet. We're power walkers right now. We're running. We're working up to that.
Okay,
Yes.
there's a clear distinction between
Okay.
runners or
And?
people who run versus running clubs.
Oh, okay.
Mobs of
Mobs?
runners.
Okay.
So running has become such a popular pastime, myself included. And, people get motivation from things like running in groups.
Yes.
These are great cruise clubs. but their behavior has been problematic in some areas. So they're having multiple complaints. I've seen this even before covering this story on and offline of these crews blocking paths and roads, and not just because they're running in groups, because of that too. But they will sometimes stand in the smack middle of a street, of a road, like where cars are supposed to travel, for photos.
Oh, for photos?
For photos, for their 인증샷, for social media.
That I've seen them like kind of holding that like
the banner and the.
I've seen them kind of like holding off the cars, like letting their fellow runners go. That I've seen, but really for photos.
Like, for me, pedestrians will always have the right of way, but
for photos,
for photos.
That I don't know.
Not only that, and you do have to stay encouraged. How do you do that? By like high-fiving and yelling and being loud. Well, if you're in a residential area, that's a noise complaint. So upon this, Seocho District in Seoul has banned group running of 5 or more people inside their Pampo Sports Stadium. So this sports stadium is kind of a hotspot for runners because they have a beautiful track. And then runners also, they need to social distance 2 meters apart.
Are you serious?
It's gotten that bad. They are implementing this rule.
Okay.
Songpa District also, because it's right by Han River, put up banners on their trails saying, refrain from running in groups of over 3.
So my family, technically, we can't run together.
I'm going to assume your family has different paces, so you're not going to be able to run together. No shade. I just threw shade.
You just
My bad.
to me.
But
Okay.
I've met your family members. Like that kid's tall and athletic. Like we can't.
No one can keep up with him.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then they have put out PA announcements over loudspeakers to run in single files. Yeah. So some people find the rules to be excessive.
Yes.
But others say, we might be in the transition phase of kind of developing this healthy running and active culture. So some rules. Because, I don't know, in the States, when I used to run, like if there are like 2 or 3 lanes in a track, lane 1's for runners. If you walk, you stay like on the outer lanes.
Yes.
That culture seems to not be really at least established yet in Korea. And I will see like families or just people like in like groups and gaggles and just blocking the path. And I sometimes have to weave in and out, and that can get dangerous. So,
maybe we can implement that.
Maybe we can. Let's make shirts and say like lane 1 runners.
Get out of my lane.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that. And I will work my way up to lane 1. I'm in lane 3 right now.
Let's form a 2-person running club.
Sounds good. Well, we'll check in with you tomorrow. I almost said Monday.
Seriously,
oh my gosh.
not Friday.
No, tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
See you Friday.
All right, it is time for another song request. So actually, we're going to get to our weather and traffic because I know we have it right here. I was given it. Here it is. Here is your weather report because traffic, there's nothing to talk about, at least right now. So weather-wise, it is currently 18 degrees under cloudy skies. We have an expected high of 22 degrees here in Busan. You may see rain across the country, however, expected to stop by tonight, although Busan, Gyeongsang, and Gangwon may see rain well into tomorrow morning. This was your traffic and weather. And here is Life is a Highway. This is by Rascal Flatts, requested by Benny.
That you travel on. There's one day here and the next day gone. Sometimes you bend, sometimes you stand, sometimes you turn your back to the wind. There's a world outside every darkened door where blues won't haunt you anymore, where the brave are free and lovers soar. Come ride with me to the distant shore. We won't hesitate to break down the garden gate. There's not much time left today. Life is a highway. I wanna ride it all night.
All right, today we're celebrating cinema movies because Biff has kicked off for a 10-day run. At opening ceremony was yesterday. So I'm looking at some of your messages talking about your favorite movies, and this message stood out from Lee Kelly Waver, who says, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed to do it. So I'm not gonna. Do I really need to say the line? Oh, I'm so bad at impersonations." So I'm not going to say it. Okay. He sent me a line from Scarface. "My name is Tony Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare." Oh, I can't even do it. "Prepare to die." Yes, that one. So Scarface, he says, is one of his favorites. And then Goonies, and he agrees with me. The Usual Suspects was really, really good. He also recommends Simon Birch. So really, really good ones. And yes, I will never do an impersonation again. I apologize. Other films that have popped up on the board. So I see, let's see, the ones that I haven't read already. Oh, how about this one? People say they like this film. I'm scrolling. The Lion King, Finding Nemo. Those are classics. I could watch those over and over again. I agree with you. Someone also mentioned The Day After Tomorrow, Legally Blonde, Sweet Home Alabama. Oh, by the way, great soundtrack on that one. Ratatouille. And I've seen multiple times on my board, Sound of Music. That's a classic. I think I've seen that a minimum of 10 times. And Umberto says, my top classic movie is Love Actually. Ooh, you're a romantic, Umberto. Yeah, that's a good one as well. And let's see, other ones that I see on my board. Some of I see Titanic. That's a good one as well. So for now, though, we got to get to Cars. Cars is one that the last one I'm going to mention for now. But for now, I'm going to get to our special interview. For today's special interview, you probably have been hearing in the news, wherever you are, whether it's here in Korea, stateside, abroad, what has been happening in the Middle East. Lots of escalation. So in recent months, the Middle East has witnessed a lot of tension with Iran's missile attacks on Israel and Israel's ground operations in Lebanon raising concerns of wider conflict. And as Hezbollah leaders are killed and U.S. support for Israel remains firm, the balance of power in the region seems to be shifting rapidly. So with these developments, the potential for diplomacy seems increasingly uncertain, but also very important. Let's find out more. Let's hear from Professor Michael Burt, Associate Professor of Political Science at Eckerd College. Hi, Professor. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me as always.
Yes, and of course, when I spoke to you off air during our test call, I heard about the Hurricane Helene, hitting your area. So I hope you're okay. And can you tell us, our listeners, about how it hit your campus pretty hard, right?
It did. And so the storm actually never made landfall with us. It was 100 miles offshore. But what happened was the storm surge from it was the largest recorded storm surge in St. Petersburg, Florida history. And our beautiful campus is right on the beach, right on the water. And so for the first time ever, we sustained some flooding, and we've been working on the cleanup, and slowly but surely we're trying to recover in the area.
Right. So you told me off air, Professor, that it would take maybe a couple weeks to maybe prepare or actually rectify all the damage from the flooding?
That's our hope right now. We don't have a locked-in date of return just yet, but we're hoping a couple of weeks. I'm trying to fix some electrical wiring that got damaged in the storm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us in the midst of all of that. So we need to know the latest, because we heard about the breaking news yesterday about the missile launches. First of all, we need to know, why did Iran launch those missiles toward Israel?
Well, Iran launched these missiles because they have styled themselves as the leaders of what they call the axis of resistance against Israel, and so creating a linkage between Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran, and Syria, among other groups, trying to challenge the Israeli presence throughout the Middle East. And over the past couple of months, the assassination of the political leader of Hamas in Iran, combined with then the killing of Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, just the other week, really signaled to Iran that they had to demonstrate that they were still supporting their allies in the region and would protect them against Israel.
Yes, and so what could happen in the Middle East right now? Because even with the news of what happened yesterday, the citizens of Korea, apparently with President Yoon, he is trying to get a transportation to the citizens in Korea, and I'm sure many countries are doing the same thing, trying to evacuate some of their citizens from the Middle East right now, because it seems like things are kind of getting heated right now.
They really are. This has always been the fear since the beginning of, as we approach the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks, the emergence of a regional conflict. And over the past year, there's been a lot of flashpoints, but we've never really hit that tipping point. Now we see with Israel launching ground attacks into Lebanon combined with air attacks, and then with the Iranian response, the feeling that we really are at the precipice of a larger war. For example, Iran's missiles, this is not the first time Iran has launched missiles at Israel this year, but this time they targeted civilian sites instead of just military sites in the spring.
Yes.
And so Israel has signaled that they are going to respond forcefully to these attacks more than they did last time.
Right. So going back to these missile launches, I know this question might seem strange, but is Iran showing some restraint, though? Because to me, it doesn't seem like it's not an all-out attack. Yes, it's a barrage of missiles, but not a full attack. It seems, or am I reading this wrong?
No, what becomes really hard during a time of escalation is to know whether we're looking at a restraint on the will or a restraint on the capacity, because Iran has created these alliances with these regional proxies such as Hezbollah and Hamas just because of the geographic difficulties of reaching Israel.
Yes.
Even where we see with these ballistic missiles that were launched, the combination of not just Iron Dome, but other missile defense systems, plus the U.S. using their own missile defenses to protect Israel, they're really kind of limited on what they can do in a conventional sense. Also, within Iran, there's been a lot of domestic turmoil over the past couple of years.
Sure.
They had the tragic death of their leader in an accident earlier this year. And so all of that has created, there's not perhaps a lot of support on the ground in Iran for a more robust response.
Yes. I want to talk about Israel, though, right now, because, I'm sure some of our listeners might be thinking, well, Israel versus Hamas, Israel versus Hezbollah, and then, with what's going on right now as of yesterday, is Israel being kind of pulled in different directions? Because, yes, it does seem like, it's being pulled in different directions, yet is it like a common enemy? So that's what some of our listeners are wondering.
Yeah, and so this is, when you talk to many Israelis, they have always seen this as, in many ways, just one larger conflict. That, some people look at Israel versus Gaza and they see Israel as the Goliath and Gaza as the David. But when you talk to Israelis, they see themselves as the David, surrounded by enemies all around.
Yes.
And so, yes, these are different fronts, but for Israeli society, they see this as one linked conflict. The idea of all of these groups that what they have in common is support from Iran being the true enemy, and it is up to them to stand forthright against these challenges.
So let's go back to Lebanon. What's the current status of the Israeli attack or their ground operations in Lebanon?
What we've heard so far is that there's been sustained fighting between the forces of Hezbollah and Israel. We know that at least 8 Israeli soldiers have died so far.
Right.
We don't know the extent as to how far the incursion's going to be. Israel has said that it would be limited, but they have sent messages to citizens of Lebanon to evacuate at least 30 miles. And so it seems like Israel wants to be able to clear the south of a Hezbollah presence so their citizens that have fled the north can go back home and perhaps give them safety from being outside the range of Hezbollah rockets.
And now I do want to talk about the U.S. because the U.S. is always there in the background, showing staunch support for Israel. But at the same time, it does seem that there's a restraint there as well in the support for Israel. So maybe can you explain the support for Israel, but also with President Joe Biden not wanting Israel to go on a full offensive?
Yeah, and we see with every step that is taken, the United States is in the background. The United States has sent more of an armed presence to the region, as mentioned, with the missiles shot from Iran, that the United States participated in destroying some of those missiles. The Iron Dome system receives financial support from the United States. And what the United States has tried to encourage is that when it comes to Iran, that Israel does not target facilities associated with the nuclear program in the country, feeling that that would create too much of an escalation. But when it comes to Hezbollah and Hamas, the United States also designates those two organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. And so they continue to support the Israeli goals of peace and security in the region from the Israeli perspective.
I see. So right now, we're going to go all the way back to Gaza. Right? We're going to go back to Gaza because that's where it all started, the past year. So how is Gaza being affected by all of this?
Well, the attacks, the fighting is still happening in Gaza. There's still, for example, Israel is still trying to locate and kill the head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar. They were successful in assassinating Nasrallah of Hezbollah.
Yes.
And if they are able to kill Sinwar, they would be able to declare a sense of victory that the mastermind behind the attacks of October 7th has been killed. They also are going to continue operations in Gaza because there's still hostages in Gaza. Whether those hostages are alive or not, unfortunately, no one really knows anymore, but there's still a demand in Israeli society to bring those hostages home.
So as we wrap up this discussion today, Professor, I mean, the feeling is right now, as I said, many countries are kind of asking their citizens to come back home to their respective homes, even sending transport to transport them back home. Is the feeling that the escalation, it's going to grow further, or do you think that this might be simmering down? What's your gut feeling telling you right now?
I think in the immediate future, we may see a bit of an escalation because from the Israeli perspective, they have about a month, maybe 5 weeks until the U.S. presidential election.
Yes.
And concerns about whether if the Democrats under Vice President Harris win, whether maybe they'd be more restrained in their actions versus a Trump administration. They know that as of right now, President Biden is not going to say anything that could jeopardize domestic politics in the U.S. And so I think we will see Israel really kind of move decisively over the next couple of weeks in what they want to do. And we've seen that in, the pager attacks, the walkie-talkie attacks, the targeting of the head of Hezbollah. So probably after the Rosh Hashanah celebration, the Jewish New Year ends, we probably will see their response of Iran. And I do expect to see a little bit of escalation over the next couple weeks.
I see. Well, thank you so much for joining us once again, and glad to know that you're safe as well. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right, everybody, this was our special interview.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is now time for Heian and City Insights. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, before we jump into our segment today,
Yes.
because we're celebrating cinema.
That's right. Happy Biff.
I know. So I am so curious. What is like one movie that you've seen on repeat or one movie you would love to recommend, old or new, to
Okay,
our
this is an
waivers?
oldie.
Okay. What is it?
I am totally dating myself, but do you remember the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? For some reason, 이게 한국어 제목으로는 아이들이 줄었어요. With Rick Moranis. I don't know. To me, it was like movie magic. You know, like
it was such a funny
people
movie,
turning
though.
into tiny little peep
Yes,
things,
yes.
and then like fighting against giant bugs out in the lawn. I watched that probably 350 times in my childhood.
Really?
Yeah,
You
I
loved
could probably
it.
still memorize lines from it.
I'm sure some of our waivers remember that too.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Rick Moranis. I love that guy.
And sometimes I like the translation of the title, but it's like it doesn't translate well.
Yeah.
It's like 여보, 내가
여보.
아이들을 줄여버렸어. Or how do I say?
아들이 줄어들었어요.
줄어들었어. 근데 내가 했어 그거를. Right?
That's a good title.
It's just not the same. Right.
the same.
Anyhow,
Not the same.
we digress. We gotta get serious for City Insights.
All right, so we're going to get
Yes.
really serious today, and the
Okay.
theme is animals.
Oh, animals.
Yes, so first we're going to get into dinosaurs
Yes.
with insights from Professor Emeritus Baek Sung at PKNU's Division of Earth and Environmental System Sciences. Well, waivers, did you know about dinosaur bones that were discovered in Gyeongnam Hadonggun Kumseongmyeon in 1998?
Ooh.
Well, it was Professor Baek Sung's team at Bugyong National University who discovered and excavated the bones and restored them.
Oh, wow. Nice. So what is it called and what type of dinosaur are we talking about?
Okay, so the name of the dinosaur is Bugyeongosaurus.
Oh.
Bugyeongosaurus in Korean.
Yes.
And we might pull up an image of the skeleton on our YouTube live stream. It's very tall, a 15-meter long herbivorous sauropod that roamed southern Korea 120 million years ago during the early Cretaceous period. So when it comes to, discovering dinosaur fossils in Korea, the first time it was discovered, it was a dinosaur egg that was discovered in 1972. And then after that, there were only discoveries made of fossils that had dinosaur footprints.
Ooh.
Actually, the image is up right now on our live stream.
Yes.
You see, it's 15 meters long when you think about it. It seems tall, but really when you see it in picture, it's humongous.
It is.
So it's the type of dinosaurs, when you watch them in dinosaur movies or cartoons, they're the more plant-eating, gentle dinosaurs. So Bugyeongosaurus is the gentle, herbivorous dinosaur.
Yes.
And then in the late 1990s, Professor Baek's team made a breakthrough by finding actual dinosaur bones on a rocky island off Hadong's coast.
Interesting. So, we do usually associate like dinosaur names with like long, like kind of foreign names. So this is pretty awesome to have one kind of in Korean.
Yeah, exactly.
Pugyeongosaurus. And so let's hear more about this.
Okay, so we're going to listen to a clip of Professor Baek In-sung talk about how this name Pugyeongosaurus came about. Let's take a listen.
보통 이제 공룡의 종류의 이름은 그 화석이 발견된 장소의 지명 아니면 그 공룡의 그 형태 특징을 따라 붙이는 것이 일반적인데 또 예적 경우도 또 다수가 있습니다. 우리 그 부경고사우루스의 이름은 우리가 발굴을 주관했던 국립부경대학교 이름을 따서 일단 속명을 푸경고사우루스라고 이제 붙였고 종명은 2000년 즉 새 천년이 시작된 무렵에 화석이 발견되었거든요. 네. 그런 의미에서 이제 밀레니엄이라고 이제 붙여진 것이죠. 그래서 이제 그 당시에 별칭을 천년 부경룡이라고 우리가 지었습니다. 그런데 영문을 이제 표기를 할 때 앞에 부경과 뒤에 사우루스가 연결이 될 때 자음으로 연결되다 보니까 발음을 부드럽게 하기 위해서 사이에 이제 오를 이제 붙이게 되었습니다. 그러다 보니까 때로는 이제 부경대의 공룡이 아니라 마침 또 부산에 부경고라는 고등학교가 있거든요. 그래서 부경고등학교 공룡으로 또 오해되었어요.
Yes, so usually dinosaur names reflect where the fossils were found or based on their unique traits, although he says there are some exceptions. The name Pugyeongosaurus actually comes from Pugyong National University, which led the excavation. And the species name, Millenniumi, was given because it was discovered around the year 2000, 1998 to be exact, which was right at the start of the new millennium.
Yes.
So that's why it also has a nickname called 천년 부경용, the Millennium Pugyong Dragon. That sounds awesome, doesn't it?
I love it.
So now when we write it in English, we put Pugyong and Saurus with an O to make it, to connect it. So that's why that sometimes it confuses people, leading them to think that it's named after Pugyonggo, Pugyong High School in Busan, which actually exists, but it's based on Pugyong National University.
Right. So as Leslie, one of our waivers saying, it's like similar to like Brontosaurus or like Brachiosaurus, right?
Yeah, but I love that it's named after a local university.
I do too. So I hear that the Pugyeongosaurus was recently displayed at a big event in Busan.
Yes, the restored skeleton of the dinosaur has been displayed at PKNU's museum since 2008, and it was recently showcased at the International Geological Congress. And apparently it was a fan favorite for the great photo opportunity.
Sure. And I'm sure they learned a thing or two more about this dinosaur.
Yes, so they learned quite a bit. The Pugyeongosaurus is the first herbivorous dinosaur discovered from Korea's Cretaceous period.
Okay.
So an interesting find was evidence of multiple carnivores feeding on its carcass, revealed by the largest ever bite mark ever recorded from a carnivorous dinosaur.
Yes.
So they found these bite marks on the tailbone of the Pugyeongosaurus. So it suggests that various sized carnivores scavenged its remains, much like in modern day predators, shedding light on carnivorous dinosaur behavior.
Ooh.
So you can check out this 15-meter tall Pugyeongosaurus skeleton at the PKNU Museum. And he said something really interesting.
Yes.
He said, if we take the time to learn about the rocks and layers of the earth, it's like watching a movie of the Earth's history unfold. So he had a bit of a romantic side to explaining all of this.
Love it. So if you haven't, go check it out. All right, let's move on to our second insight.
All right, from dinosaurs to jellyfish.
Oh my gosh. 공룡 and 해파리.
Yeah, I met with researcher Kim Kyung-yeon from the jellyfish countermeasure team, the 해파리 대책반 of the National Institute of Fisheries Science.
This summer, that's all we heard about.
Right.
Jellyfish here, jellyfish there,
That's
giant ones, right?
With big
really
spikes and jellyfish stings.
Yes.
Well, in fact, according to the Busan Fire and Disaster Headquarters, reports of jellyfish stings were 3 times higher than last year. And this rise doesn't just lead to losses in the fishing industry. She explained that it also caused problems with power plants by blocking the water intake systems. And it also impacts tourism, of course, when people get stung at the beach.
Sure.
So that's why it's even more important that there's a team dedicated to researching and monitoring. And they usually do it by using research vessels to spot them on the water surface. And they also use sonar sonar to detect jellyfish in deeper waters. And when there's a large outbreak, like the recent Nomura's jellyfish, the Coast Guard helps with aerial surveys too.
So, which types of jellyfish are dangerously toxic to people when stung, though?
So she explained that all jellyfish do have venom, but some, like the Nomura's jellyfish or the lion's mane, small box or ghost jellyfish in Korea, are especially potent and dangerous. Severe stings can cause blisters or even trouble breathing, so it's important to be cautious around them.
Yes, but how do we know the difference? I don't know.
Right? So
for the layperson.
That's true. So when you see a jellyfish, just be careful.
Yes.
What I was most curious was what caused this sudden increase in Korea this summer. So let's take a listen to Ms. Kim Kyung-yeon break this down for us.
Sure.
첫째는 인공구조물의 증가가 원인으로 들 수 있는데요. 해파리 생활사 단계 중에 폴립이라는 게 있는데 이 폴립은 딱딱한 바다 기질 같은 데 부착해서 생활하게 돼요. 근데 인공구조물이 많아지면 거기 면이 많다 보니 해파리 폴립 양이 증가하게 돼서 결과적으로는 해파리가 많이 태어나게 됩니다. 두 번째는 부영양화가 원인인데요. 육지로 기인한 영양염들이 바다에 유입되면서 바다의 영양 성분이 많아지게 되고 그로 인해서 식물 플랑크톤이랑 동물 플랑크톤 양이 증가하게 돼요. 얘네들은 해파리의 먹이기 때문에 해파리 아까 말씀드린 폴립이 많이 먹고 많이 자라게 되고 해파리가 갓 태어났을 때 그 부유유생이라는 에피라 단계가 있는데 얘네들이 먹이가 많다 보니 폐사율이 적고 그래서 많이 발생하게 됩니다. 마지막으로는 수온 증가가 원인으로 들 수 있는데요. 수온이 증가하게 되면 아까 그 폴립 발생량이 늘어나게 되고 또 그 해파리가 태어나는 시기를 좀 앞당길 수가 있어요.
So there are several reasons for the jellyfish surge.
Okay.
She says first, more artificial structures in the ocean are giving the jellyfish polyps, which is the early stage of their life, more places to attach and grow. So that's one factor.
Okay.
Another one is the excess nutrients in the water cause their food, plankton, to thrive, helping more jellyfish larvae survive.
More food.
Yes.
Okay.
And also global climate change. So warmer water speeds up the reproduction of polyps, causing jellyfish to appear earlier in the year and also to spread further.
This is so interesting because we automatically think, okay, just warmer water. But the other first two reasons, really interesting to find out.
That's also, man-made issues. So in case of the Nomura's jellyfish, which we saw a lot of this year, their habitat is mainly off of China's coast.
Yes.
So she says it's hard to pinpoint one cause, so this ongoing monitoring makes it even more important.
Indeed. Yeah. And I know many of you are saying 해파리 냉채 정말 좋아하는데 맛있어요. Exactly. However, if you see jellyfish in the ocean, we can't distinguish, or at least I can't. I'm not a scientist, so I would say as a layperson, just stay away.
Yes. And she also mentioned that, when you look at the movement of the jellyfish, they have this very pulsatory movement.
Yes.
It resembles the human heartbeat, so it's often used for meditation and for therapeutic techniques too, for people to kind of breathe along with the movement of the jellyfish. So they have many facets. They can be toxic, but also healing and delicious. Wow. Delicious. So versatile.
Only your listeners could come up with that. 좋아하는데 맛있는데. So thank you for bringing the Bugyongosaurus and also the jellyfish to our waivers. And we'll definitely check in with you next week. Thank you, Haeyeon.
All right, take care.
And it's time to wrap up our program for today. Big shout out to our staff. We have our producer, Cho Yoon-jin. We have our writers, Haley and Annie. I'm your host. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. And I do hope you enjoy your day off today. This is What is Love by Twice. So enjoy, everybody. Bye.
FM 부산 영어 방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재